Hi, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 1, Constructing, Measuring, and Using Geometric Notation, Lesson 15. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to construct complex polygons using your construction tools. So, in this lesson, you're going to learn to interpret simple pie charts using proportion. Before we start, I would like you to really understand the meaning of proportion. So, proportion means how one quantity relates to another quantity. So, for example, if you have 8 pieces of pizza and you ate 2 pieces, that means you have the proportion that you have eaten is 2 out of 8. Okay, so we're going to explore that a lot more. So, but it's important you understand the concept of proportion. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are released, you will be notified. Pause the video and answer these retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the retrieval practice questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you were asked, if the radius of a circle is 11 millimeters, what is the diameter? So diameter is twice the radius. So for a circle, the diameter is twice the radius. So twice of 11 millimeter is 22 millimeter. Next, you're asked, if the diameter of a circle is 29 kilometer, what is the radius? The radius is half of a diameter. So half of 29 is 14.5. Here you ask, question 3, what fraction of the circle is shaded? The fraction of the circle that is shaded is 2/5. So we have 5 parts and the fraction that is shaded is 2/5. Now you can also use this to understand proportion. So the proportion of the circle that is shaded is 2/5, 2 out of 5 parts. And then what fraction is not shaded? It is 3/5. So we see these parts are not shaded. So 3 out of 5 parts are not shaded. Let's do some new learning for this lesson. So here you ask, Mrs. White is ordering some Levi's hoodies for her class. The pie chart shows the favorite colors of the children. So here we see the pie chart. And then we'll ask, if she can only order one color, what color hoodies should she order? I want you to have a think. Looking at this pie chart, which part represents the greater proportion? So imagine this was a pizza. Which one would you take? Okay, of course, you will take the green part that represents the greater proportion. So Miss White should order green. Next, we'll ask, if she can order different colors, should she order more yellow or blue hoodies? Remember, she has to order the more popular color or the ones students like most or the children like most. Of course, she would pick yellow. So I'm sure you're beginning to understand the concept of proportion just looking at the size of the parts of the circle. Here we have favorite colors. If you're asked what fraction is red, of course, you would choose a quarter. A quarter is red. You can see this circle has been split into 4 equal parts. So you would choose a quarter. Next, what fraction is green? You can see that The fraction that is green is a quarter as well. But what fraction is blue? Have you noticed that half of the circle is blue? So if we wanted to write this as a fraction, we would write 2 over 4 because 2 parts are blue out of 4 parts. But we can simplify that to be a half, which is actually half the circle. The next thing we want to start to explore is how to write sentences from what we know about the parts of a pie chart. So here is this one. Dash times as many prefer blue compared to red. Well, the word is 2 times as many. So you can see 2 times as many. There are 2 times as many blue compared to red. Then next, dash as many prefer green as they do blue. Half, okay? Half as many prefer green as they do blue. Okay, so it's about understanding the proportion and how to use the right words to express statements about the proportion of the pie chart. Okay, I want you to have a think. What word would we use for this statement and what would you put as the fractions in these boxes? So let's look at the parts you would choose. Just a minute. All right, here we are. Okay, so we would have 1/5 and that would be 3/3. Why? If you look at these, all the parts are equal. So we can say red is 1 out of 5, 1/5. Green is 1 out of 5, which is 1/5. And blue is 3/5. Okay, what word would we use to complete this sentence? Dash times as many prefer blue compared to green. Of course, 3 times. So you can see it's 3 times as many prefer blue compared to green. Okay, now what if we're given some numbers to work with? So if there were 30 children, so how many children would we say prefer blue? Of course, we would work out 3/5 of 30. And of course, I'm sure you remember how to work out fraction of amount. So this would become, it's a bit like saying, well, 3/5, remember, we divide with the denominator and we multiply with the numerator. Okay, so we multiply with the numerator and we divide with the denominator. So if we simply do 30 divided by 5, that will be 6. 6 times 3 will be 18. So if you do not understand how to work out fraction of amounts, go and search for the lesson we had done and then watch that video. If there were 60 children, we would do the same. We would do 3/5 of 60, which would be 36. If there were 100 children, we would do 3/5 of 100, which will give us 60. So you can see that proportion tells us about the size, but the number representing the pie chart could change. Okay? All right. Let's look at another example. 56 children are attending Mo's birthday party. The children were asked what flavor crepes they wanted, and this is what the pie chart that was used to represent the information. So here on the right is the key. The key is telling us what the colors in the pie chart, what they represent. Okay, so sometimes you would see pie charts that look like this with a key telling you what each of these colors represent in the pie chart. Okay, let's do some learning using this. How many children wanted salt and vinegar and roast chicken flavor crepes? Well, salt and vinegar, you can see it here that salt and vinegar, we have 8 equal parts. So salt and vinegar, the proportion is 2/8. Okay, 2 out of 8. So we'll do 2/8 of 56 because we know the total number of children. That will give us those who had salt and vinegar, and that is 14. What about roast chicken flavor? You can see that roast chicken, this one here, all right, represents also 2/8, which is a quarter. So if you simplify, and that will give you 14 as well. What about adding them? Why do we have to add them? Because the question says how many children wanted salt and vinegar and roast chicken flavor crepes. So we are adding both of them to find the total. The question is asking for a total, and that is 28. But is there another way? Well, think about it. We have salt and vinegar, we have roast chicken, and you can see that it occupies half. Okay, both things that we're considering occupies half of the pie chart. So we could have simply said half of 56, which will give us 28. All right. What about what fraction did not want ready salted flavor? Well, how many ways can you do this? So what fraction did not want ready salted flavor? Well, we can do it this way. We can say, well, 1/8 did want ready salted flavor. So 7/8 did not want ready salted flavor, which is what we want to work out of 56. So if we do 7/8 of 56, that will give us the number of people who did not want ready salted flavor. It's now time for you to practice question 1. So pause the video and answer question 1 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 1, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here are the answers for question 1. So pause the video and mark your work, celebrate your success, go through it really well. If you don't understand it, then you can review your work. All right? So for this one, really quickly, you can see that you were asked what was the most popular color. You can see it's orange. What was the least popular color? You can see it's blue, right? Just looking at the chart, you can see they are equal sizes. So you can compare looking at their sizes, and that answers the question. And then you ask what fraction of the students chose orange. Okay, the fraction that chose orange, you can see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have altogether 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 5 out of 10 parts. So if you simplify that, you get a half. Here you ask what fraction of the students chose green. That would be 3/10 because you have 3 parts out of 10 parts. Then you ask what fraction of the students choose blue. That is 2 out of 10, which if you simplify will give you 1/5. And then if there are 30 students in a class, how many students does each section of the pie chart represent? You do 30 divided by 10. Yeah. And then how many students chose blue or orange? So blue or orange. So you can see blue or orange. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if each part represents 3 students, then 7 will be 3 times 7. 7 of those parts will be 21 students. Okay, let's look at some further examples in our learning for this lesson. Here, this information represents types of trees in a field. The green represents oak, blue, willow, and the other color, birch. Okay. Next, you're asked there are 5 birch trees in the field. How many trees are there altogether? Now, to answer this question, you think, well, are the circles all in of the same size? The answer is yes. Now, if each of them is 5, then we can just write 5 in all of the pie charts because they are all of equal sizes. So altogether, we can see that we have 6 parts. So we can do 6 times 5, which is 30. So there are 30 trees altogether. So what this example shows is that you can use the knowledge or information of one part of the pie chart where all the parts are equal to find out information about other parts of the pie chart or the whole pie chart. Okay. If there are 6 willow trees in the field, so there are 6 willow trees in the field, how many oak trees are there? Well, this time all the parts are 6, right? So all the parts are 6. Now we have 2 parts which represents willow trees. Okay, so these parts here represents 6, the whole of the willow, and you can see that 2 parts represent 6, so each part should be 3. So we can use that information to populate the other parts of the pie chart. And then if you're being asked how many oak trees are there, we can simply divide by 2. Okay, so divide by 2 to get 3. The reason we divided by 2 for the willow trees is because this part represents 6. So to get the whole lot, we simply multiply by 3 because 3 parts represents oak trees. Okay, let's do some further learning. At school A, the children were asked what sports team they would like to join. At school B, the children were also asked what sports team they would like to join. And the key tells you what each part of the pie chart represents. Here is something to think about, and I want you to answer true or false to some of these statements. More children want to join football at school A than school B. True or false? Well, it is false. Why? We do not know the number of children for each school, either school A or school B, so we cannot answer that question. Remember, pie charts show proportion. It does not tell us the number of people unless we are expressly told or explicitly told what numbers are represented in the pie chart. We cannot answer this question. Okay, now the information has changed. We're told that at school A, 64 children were asked what sports team they would like to join. And at school B, 96 children were asked what sports team they would like to join. True or false? Now you check this. More children want to join football at school A than school B. Well, let's investigate this. So, if we investigate this, we will see that 3 parts represent, okay, there are 64 children all in the school. And then here, the total number of parts that we have is 8. So 3 out of 8 represent football. So we have to work out 3/8 of 64. Now, if we work out 3/8 of 64, we would see that it's equal to 2/8 of 96. So you can see why it's important to have information about the number that the pie chart is representing, the total number that the different parts of the pie chart is representing. So 24 children each chose football. So it's false. Yeah. So we cannot say more children want to join football at school A than school B. It's now time for you to practice the other parts of the questions. So pause the video and answer question 2 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 2, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for question 2, you were asked, the pie chart shows the proportions of matches that two sport teams won, lost, or drew. And you can see the key given to you here. You were asked, decide if each statement is true or false, or whether there is not enough information. Explain your answers. Here you asked, Blue Dot Rangers and Green Line Rovers played the same number of games. We don't have enough information. Remember, pie charts show proportion. It doesn't tell us the number that each part of the pie chart represents unless we're told the total number of items or things that the pie chart is representing, or we're told the number that a portion of the pie chart represents. Next, you'll ask, Blue Dot Rangers won and drew an equal number of games. Well, we can make a decision on that because we can see that the pie chart, all right, so Blue Dot Rangers, we can see it here, won and drew an equal number of games. So we can see winning is blue and lose and their draw is this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can answer that is true. Okay. Pause the video and answer question 2 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 2, here are the answers. So here for question 3 part A, you asked, students from 2 classes were asked to choose their favorite sports. The pie charts show the results. Here are the pie charts. And you've been asked, is this statement true or false? So you're told in class A, twice as many students choose football as chose basketball. Yes, you can answer that because you're working within this class A, and you can see that more people chose, twice as many students chose football, which is this one here, as basketball. All right. And then for question B, so you can see the answer there. So you will ask, is this statement true or false? So you can see the answer there. So in class B, twice as many students chose football. So you can see football here as chose basketball. So you can see this comprises 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and why this is 3 parts. So there are twice as much compared to that. And then here you're asked for C. She says more students like football in class B than in class A. We cannot agree with Whitney because we don't have enough information to make that conclusion. Okay, pause the video and answer question 4 in 3 minutes. You can take 2 minutes. It shouldn't be longer than that. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here is the answer to question 4. So question 4, you ask, in a supermarket, 1/5 of the people are children. The rest are adults. You're asked to shade the pie chart and complete the key to represent the information. So here you can shade with a particular color. We have the total number of parts. You have 3 here, 3, so that's 6. Another 3, that's 9. Another 3, that's 12. So we have 15 parts. So it means shading 3 out of the 15 to get 1/5. Okay. Next, you ask, there are 180 adults in the supermarket. How many children are there? Well, here is the one where you use part of the information given to you in the pie chart to answer the other parts of the question. So here we're told, yeah, so if 1/5 of the people are children, then it means 4/5 will be adults. Now, 4/5 of X, something we don't know, is 180. All right. So if 4/5 is 180, then it means that 45, how do we do that? We'll simply divide by 4 and multiply by 5. So that's how we do that. So we do the inverse of what we would normally do. So whenever you have a question like this, where, normally when we do fraction of amount, for example, if we want to work out 4/5 of an amount, we would normally multiply by the numerator and divide by the denominator. But this time we do not know the amount, so we always do the inverse of what we would normally do. So we'll multiply by 5 and we divide. So we do 180 multiply by 5 and we divide by 4. That will give us 45. So if we divide by 4, 18 divided by 4, that will be 4. We have a remainder 2, so that will be 45 times 5. Okay? So 45 times 5, which will give us the total number, okay, of everybody there. Now, if we know the total number, 1/5 of that is 45. And you can even see it here because fifths, 5 lots, things have been divided into 5 lots. So it means, right, that 45 is 1 lot. Okay. Another way to think about it is to have 5 equal parts, and of which 4 of those parts is 180. So if you divide 180 by 4, each part will be 45. So it's about using your bar model to do this. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 of those parts represent 180. So it means each part is 45, which means 1/5, which represents children, should be 45 as well. So there are different ways to do that. Okay, pause the video and answer question 5 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 5, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you were asked, the pie chart shows the proportion of boys and girls in a youth club. And then you ask, she says, so Amir says, he says, there are 4 more boys than girls in the youth club. So explain why Amir is wrong. So here you can see that each section doesn't necessarily represent one person. Okay. So remember, we cannot make conclusions in a pie chart when we don't know the total number of parts that is being represented by the whole pie chart or each part of the pie chart. Then here you're told there are 20 more boys than girls in the youth club. How many members of the youth club are there in total? So to do this, we'll say, well, there are 20 more boys than girls in the youth club. So we have here for the boys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 11 minus 7 is 4, right? So we have 4 parts more, which is represented by 20. So imagine we have 4 parts more, which is represented by 20. Okay. So remember, there are 20 more boys than girls. So in terms of the parts of the pie chart, you have 4 more. Yeah, 4 more parts represents 20. So it means each of these parts is 5. Okay. Now, if each of those parts is 5, it means that you have in total, the number of parts you have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it means you do 18 times 5. They're going to be 18 parts together. So 18 times 5 will be 90. And that's how we know the total number of parts or the total number of members in the youth club. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. So, really well done for sticking around for learning about the basic or fundamental knowledge of knowing how to work out, interpret pie charts using proportion. Until next time, take really good care of yourself and bye bye.